October 14th, 1751. Dear Santa Claus, I have been a good boy and have studied with diligence. Will you please bring me a harpsichord or a violin? My parents' slaves will leave you milk and cookies. Yours most humbly, Thomas Jefferson. November 21st, 1751. Dear Thomas, precocious young man, I have chosen a Cremona violin that I think will be to your liking. Practice, but do not limit yourself to musical endeavors. Merry Christmas, Santa Claus. September 3rd, 1760. Dear Santa Claus, how are you able to bring toys to all children of the globe? And given the difficult moral assignations, how does one choose between naughty and nice? As Lawrence Sterne writes, morals were too essential to the happiness of man to be risked on the uncertain combinations of the head. Your affectionate friend, Thomas Jefferson. October 18th, 1760. My dear learned Thomas, in answer to your first query, there is a time-space fissure outside the North Pole which allows me to quantum flux between multiple dimensions while delivering presents in this plane of existence. As for morality, Sterne did indeed write, even the clearest and most exalted understandings amongst us find ourselves puzzled and at a loss in almost every cranny of nature's works. In terms of naughty or nice, however, I'm afraid it's just the toss of a coin. It saves time, and the sooner children learn to deal with an unfair universe, the better. Take care, Santa Claus. April 23rd, 1775. Dear Santa, within the week we have received the unhappy news of deadly action between the King's troops and our brethren at Lexington in Middlesex County, Massachusetts. An official declaration to assert our independence from Britain is necessary, but my lowly skills as a lawyer are ill-suited to such revolutionary dogma. Also, I just invented a spherical sundial. Your friend and humble servant, Thomas. August 2nd, 1775. Dear Thomas, for your declaration, try a catchy opening line like, when in the course of human events. Or, we're out of here. Or, suck on our hot freedom, you pompous jackasses. Or words to that effect. The rest will write itself. Also, when you reorganize the colonies into some overarching governmental body, consider a bicameral system with states represented equally and proportionally. Good luck, Santa. June 22nd, 1787. Dear Santa, a year has passed since Maria Causeway departed Paris for London. Fortunately, there is the presence of my newly arrived daughter, Polly, and 14-year-old Sally Hemings, who has accompanied her from Virginia. Abigail Adams thinks Miss Hemings a mere child, but she strikes me mature beyond her years and quite fetching. In addition, I recently invented a machine for mixing the yolk of an egg within its shell and a walking stick which turns into a slightly larger walking stick. Your most obedient and humble servant, Thomas. July 12th, 1787. Dear Thomas, regarding Miss Hemings, don't. Just don't. As a friend, I cannot stress this highly enough. Santa. P.S. Don't. August 28th, 1787. Dear Santa, oh, how I am bedeviled by negress flesh. As if gripped in a tropical delirium, Miss Hemings' loins exude a perfumed composite of sweat and subjugation that cannot be wrong because its tactility feels so right. With head and heart in conflict, I surrender all logic. Your most troubled friend and unworthy servant, Thomas. October 7th, 1787. Dear Thomas, I am the last to judge your lustful dalliance. Once, when Mrs. Claus was away visiting cousins, I found splendor in the arms of Milton, an elf who worked in the spinning top department. He was a raging inferno, and his smallness and height did not match the rest of him, if you know what I mean. And I think you do. Sure, the unions tried to bring me up on charges, but who's going to mass produce toys if I'm in jail? Asians? Please. Santa. September 5th, 1800. Dear Santa, the presidential campaign rages against my wily adversary John Adams, and I am attacked as atheist and Jacobin. One newspaper warns, quote, murder, robbery, rape, adultery, and incest will be openly taught and practiced, and the soil will be soaked with blood, end quote, should I emerge victorious. I can only hope future generations will not be so blinded by party affiliations. I plan to rebuild Monticello and await contractors to give me an estimate. They still have not arrived. In the meantime, I design a blanket with sleeves which can be worn to provide warmth and comfort. Your submissive and most acquiescent squire, Thomas. November 11th, 1800. Dear Thomas, here are some tips on dealing with contractors. First, get a detailed written contract. Second, plan for problems like delays and bad weather. Third, always budget additional money for extras. When Mrs. Claus and I decided to put a wet bar in our rec room, we worked with a contractor and a specialty dealer to get the bar dismantled and installed properly with retro fittings. It cost more, but was worth it. Also, send me a prototype of the sleeved blanket. I may know how to market it. Santa. February 6, 1808. Dear Santa, 9 months more will relieve me from a drudgery to which I am no longer equal as president. The Embargo Act has proven calamitous, and I, who champion states' rights, have laid the template for ever-expanding federal powers. Still awaiting the contractors, I give them 1 more year. Your most servile and browbeaten factotum, Thomas. March 15th, 1808. Thomas, boo-hoo, cry me a frozen river. You have problems? It's March, and already I'm dealing with manufacturers, downsizing, and toy manipulation. Can't take the heat, get away from the 10-plate stove. Santa. March 24th, 1808. Dearest Thomas, deepest apologies for my last letter. As you know, after the holiday season, I lose about 50 pounds, and my metabolism goes straight to hell. I also have pains in my back and right shoulder, which turn out to be gallstones. Ho, 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 Santa. August 2nd, 1815. Dear Santa, I had a most remarkable dream of late, in which Jesus Christ and I are engaged in a game of backgammon. He cheats, and is aware I have witnessed his deception, but I remain silent. Later, I am naked in front of the Continental Congress. What does this mean? Your most sincerely acquiescent and docile Chamberlain, Thomas. September 23rd, 1815. Dear Thomas, faith is often difficult to reconcile with physical being. I am creating my own religion based on the central precept of an evil galactic overlord who has banished souls into volcanoes on Earth and blown them up with powerful explosives. We'll send literature. Bright day, Santa. November 17th, 1825. Dear Santa, as I behold precious Monticello, I am drawn to former events and old friends. Will humankind know or care what we have done? I take my Cremona violin in hand and hail you repeatedly with pledges of steadfast esteem and respect. The Hermit of Monticello, Thomas. December 25th, 1825. Dear Thomas, you are the lucky one. I have to endure generation after generation asking for material goods, exhibiting the same greed, thinking they are brighter, more sophisticated, invoking my name without belief or understanding. One must persevere. Eternally yours, Santa.